Hey, what is going on, guys? Aiden here, back with another career sim video, and we have simulated quite a while, and since that Nets game, we have lost against the Knicks, won against the Rockets, lost against the Warriors, won a game against the Lakers, but then lost to Stephen Curry and the Clippers. Against the Nuggets and LeBron James, we won. Against the Jazz, we won. Against Toronto, we lost, and against Milwaukee Spurs, we lost, and then Charlotte, we just won. But we're going to be playing this game against the Hawks today, and the Hawks are my favorite team, but of course they don't have Trae Young anymore, who is my favorite player. But instead, they are rocking Ramon Lopez, a drafted guy, Zach LaVine, who is a possibility of coming to the Atlanta Hawks this offseason, Michael Porter Jr. at the small forward, Moussa Diabate, however you pronounce that, at the power forward, and Domantas Sabonis in at the center. And it looks like we have a change to the starting lineup. Daniel Theis now starting over Brewer at center. So we're just going to hop right into this. Our current record is 7-13, and we're hoping to improve. And here we are at the beginning of the game. Looks like the Hawks aren't having a great season either. 10-9, just over 500, but maybe looking to improve on that. But with our team being 7-13 through 20 games, we're really looking to pick it up and try and make a playoff push. Domantas Sabonis in the last 5 games has been averaging 18 points, so pretty good. But we will just start right onto it. We see Brian Hunt at ready to jump for the ball, and it turns out Daniel Theis will not get the ball. So first position of the game, Brian Hunt guarding Zach LaVine, a true scorer and inside presence, but can also shoot the ball. I think a lot of people underestimate what Zach LaVine can do with the ball, especially that day against Charlotte where he hit all of those threes in 2019, I think now. Wendell Carter will take a tough shot against the smaller defender and end up missing. Now we're guarding Lopez, the drafted guy. Not sure where he was drafted from, not sure when he was drafted. I'm assuming last draft or this draft that Brian Hunt was in, as we'll pass it out to Wendell Carter. He won't take the three, but instead he'll pass it back out to Daniel Theis, and Brian Hunt will be wide open for the slam. As Zach LaVine brings the ball up the court, Brian Hunt locking him down. A-plus perimeter defense, of course, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league throughout 20 games, of course, but Brian will come in and attempt to grab the rebound, but Gordon Hayward will get it above us, and Jaws asking for the ball, so we'll give it to him as Brian Hunt will get the ball back. John Morant will pop up at the three and miss the shot. Michael Porter Jr. bringing up the ball, guarded by Daniel Theis. Domantas Sabonis will come to take a screen, and Michael Porter Jr. will end up taking a tough baseline shot, which will not go in. As Brian Hunt crosses him over, passes down to Wendell Carter, and Wendell Carter will end up hitting the wide open shot and gives Brian Hunt his first assist. Of course, Brian and Wendell had that insane alley-oop last episode that really set the tone, but we did end up losing that game 74-60, I believe. And of course we did get that fixed up. It shouldn't be that low. At least it won't be that low after the game, as we did shorten the quarters to make the statistics a little bit more realistic. Zach LaVine will get the ball in the corner, guarded by Brian Hunt. Passes up to Lopez, guarded by Wendell Carter, and LaVine will take a contested mid-range shot and end up greening it. As Ramon Lopez last game scored 28 points, so maybe somewhat of a scoring threat for the Atlanta Hawks. And Brian Hunt will take up the ball. Wendell will set a screen for John Morant. John Morant will take the ball inside and slam it down on the defender. And I'll call for the ball out from John Morant on the corner. Calls for a screen from Wendell Carter. And there's the monster slam by Brian Hunt. He really is a very good slasher and mid-range player. I just need to get his three-point shot down so that way we can kind of hit a few threes, because so far haven't hit any, and that's a little bit boring, as Zach LaVine will move to the side and take a shot, but will not end up hitting it, as we'll look for Ja Morant going to the paint, as he'll take a bad shot, honestly, and miss. Now guarding Michael Porter Jr., Zach LaVine with the ferocious dunk over the defender. Brian Hunt looking over to help, but then he says no. And Ja Morant will take the ball up and look to do something with it, as he kind of ISOs the situation out and then hits the tough layup against Ramon Lopez. And Ja Morant this season is averaging 21.2 and 21.6 PER. And it seems like he is not having the best season, but of course some of the load being taken off by Brian Hunt, as the Indiana Pacers will take their first timeout. And Brian Hunt will come back into the game after that timeout. Took a short break, but now is back in, as he'll look at Gordon Hayward, and Gordon Hayward will hit the green and one against Caleb Martin. And so far, a tightly contested game, 18-20, Indiana. And while he was on the bench, they kind of went on a little bit of a run, but so did Atlanta, and Atlanta ended up coming back, as Gordon Hayward will miss the shot. And they're telling Brian Hunt to go guard Zach LaVine in the corner, and he'll end up playing good defense against Zach LaVine, not allowing him to catch the alley-oop. As we see the dunk contest race, Peyton Watson, Anthony Edwards, Ruben Shepard, who we played early in the year, and then a Spurs player who I did not catch the name of. As Brian Hunt will come up and take the ball and call a screen from Wendell Carter. I meant to pass it to Wendell, but that's all right, as we'll get the ball right back. Wendell behind the back, and we'll call for another screen from Wendell, and Wendell will be left wide open, but he will miss the easy layup, and Brian Hunt will pick up the foul to try and slow things down. As we see a good Duncan Robinson block, which we don't see very often. Yes, Duncan Robinson is on the team, although he does not play very quality minutes, coming off of the bench after having a rough season in 2K, lowering his overall all the way down to a 74. Zach LaVine averaging 28.7 points per game this season. And Gordon Hayward will get the ball stripped, and Brian Hunt will make his way back down the court, guarding the paint. Now on what looks like a power forward, maybe a shooting guard, and just trying to stop the fast break, as Ramon Lopez will take a tough shot and Ja Morant will grab the board. Brian Hunt will run up the court. Jalen Brunson dropping around, as he'll call for the ball but not get past to, and Ja Morant now up. And Jalen Brunson will take a tough shot and end up missing. And a lot of tough shots, a lot of not good offense being generated from the game, as I fall for a pump fake. But now guarding Michael Porter Jr., who has not worked out in the league so far. Not necessarily, at least the Nuggets gave him that massive contract, and now on the Atlanta Hawks after the fantasy draft. Brian Hunt will take a tough mid-range shot but not end up hitting it, as Michael Porter Jr. will end up taking the ball up the court, passing it to Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine up, and Michael Porter Jr. will be left wide open and end up hitting the layup after he blows by Brian Hunt. Brian Hunt not having many badges, but he does have the most defensive badges, most bronze defensive badges, I should say. So not very good, as Ja Morant will try to take the flashy pass, and he'll end up working, even though he might not get the assist for that. Zach LaVine takes the pick and tries to hit a close-range shot, but Gordon Hayward will grab the rebound and take the ball up court as we will run this play. And it looks like they're setting a screen for Ja Morant to get over go over to the three-point line, and he'll take a tough shot and miss yet again. It seems like this offense is really stagnant. Maybe a new coach is in need, as Rick Carlisle really not providing a lot of good plays for Ja Morant, Brian Hunt, and Jalen Brunson, the three main scorers on the team. Oh, come on. We're going to challenge that, as we believe that was not a foul and that was actually a block. And I know we're not supposed to be, using the coach really, but the coach will not call challenges on simulated games, so we're just going to have to do it ourselves, and we don't want to pick up that second foul and let them score some points at the line, as we will skip it. But it really did look like a block, and it seems like the call will be overturned, and there will be a jump ball. Wendell Carter and another player, maybe Powell, I can't tell from right here, will line the ball up, and it'll end up being Pacers' ball, so a challenge that is worthwhile, as Brian Hunt will set a screen for Ja Morant, and Ja Morant will pass the ball to Jalen Brunson, and Ja will take another tough shot. Maybe his shot IQ in the game is low or something, because it seems like he is taking a lot of tough contested shots, as Michael Porter Jr. will get the ball to the rim, and the Pacers will call a timeout. Back in now, Ja Morant brings the ball up the court as Brian Hunt sits in the corner yet again. Gordon Hayward left wide open from three, but does not take the shot, as Brian will cut and end up hitting the dunk against the defender. Left wide open on the cut and didn't let Domantas Sabonis block him, as he will now go down to the court and guard Michael Porter Jr. So maybe a little bit of matchup switch after being guarded by Domantas Sabonis, as Zach LaVine will take the ball up, and Brian Hunt will try to try to help and leave Michael Porter Jr. wide open. Now dribbling the ball up the court, he'll call an ISO in this situation against Michael Porter Jr., which is not a solid defender, but his moves are a little bit too slow, as Malachi Flynn will get the ball and end up dribbling out of bounds. So Brian Hunt only has 6 points, but he does have 3 assists, so helping his team out in that category, as he will stay in the game throughout the timeout. Sorry for the yawns, guys. I haven't got much sleep over the past few days. And Diabate will have the ball now on the wing, dribbling the ball. I don't know why he is, though. He is a power forward and does not dribble the ball a lot, as Brian Hunt will steal it and take the ball up the court. Ja Morant wants it, so we'll give it to him. He's our point guard after all. And Hunt will take a 3-point shot and end up missing yet again. But left wide open there, so I thought maybe we could get it. But Ja Morant blocks the ball. Those hops really helping him get to some of those tough blocks. Oh, and I guess we traded Duncan Robinson, because as I remember, he was on our team, and now he is not. So I guess we had a trade go down and we didn't notice. And that's why I said he was on our team earlier, and I thought he was in the Pacers uniform. But we will dribble the ball up against the bad defender in Duncan Robinson and end up getting a wide open shot that will fall for Brian Hunt. Brian Hunt averaging 21 points this season, but of course that was wrong last episode, as Ja Morant will steal the ball. Look at Gordon Hayward going down, and Gordon Hayward will take a tough shot, and it will not go in, although Brian Hunt did call for the ball after being wide open. Brian Hunt now guarding Domantas Sabonis, as Monte Morris will guard the ball. Domantas comes up and set the screen, as we will guard the roll. 8 seconds left on the shot clock as Duncan Robinson gets the ball, and it'll end up being an offensive 3-second violation, and it will be Pacers ball, as we see Nate McMillan in right there, and Brian Hunt will be taken out of the game. And here is Brian Hunt in the beginning of the second half, and he'll set a screen and end up getting the ball. Call for a screen from Daniel Theis, of course, now the starter for the Indiana Pacers, as Gordon Hayward will take a very early 3-point shot, and it will not end up falling. Zach LaVine brings the ball up the court, but then passes it to Michael Porter Jr., and Michael Porter Jr. with the tough 3-point shot, as Ja Morant brings the ball yet again, as we'll get a screen from Wendell Carter on this play and end up getting the ball up against Zach LaVine. We'll call for the ball right back after passing it to Ja Morant, and we'll set Daniel Theis up on the pick and fade, but he'll end up getting a wide open look at the basket, I thought, but I guess the bigger defender, or the large size of Zach LaVine, ended up impacting that shot, as he will hit a shot against Brian Hunt. And now we will be looking to score for Brian Hunt. Brian will end up taking the screen from Wendell Carter, 2 screens from Wendell Carter, as the first one didn't even have any contact, and one up passing to Gordon Hayward, who will take another tough 3-point shot and end up missing yet again. But Wendell Carter is there to clean up the mess after he hits a very early timed layup. Brian Hunt, clamping up full court, of course, does have the means to do that. Good speed and good athleticism to be able to sprint back onto the court. But after being hit with a good screen, Zach LaVine gets left, but Daniel Theis able to pick up the help defense, as Brian Hunt will get stripped after running right into the defender. That is my fault, of course, as Ramon Lopez will be left wide open, but end up missing yet again. So a little bit of a stagnant offenses here in this first quarter of the second half, I guess, as Brian Hunt will call for the alley-oop and not end up dunking it and end up missing it. Maybe he should have tried to dunk it there, as the layup would not fall, and we are shooting 50% with 8 points, and not the best game so far for the star Brian Hunt, as Gordon Hayward will dribble the ball off. Man, these offenses are really very stagnant, as we see a block from John Morant on Duncan Robinson. Ramon Lopez now taking the ball up the court, rocking number 24, maybe a fan of Kobe, and Zach LaVine will jab step and end up going against Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson will get the blocking foul, not setting his feet up in time to grab that charge foul. As we will do it again, Diabate inbounding the ball. Ramon Lopez left wide open, and he will, and they will pass to Powell. So that is Dwight Powell, their backup center, as Michael Porter Jr. will be left open again, yet not hit. So maybe my help defense isn't as good as I think it is, and maybe I should kind of leave the help to the bigger defenders, such as Daniel Theis, as Zach LaVine will end up breaking Jalen Brunson, but good help from Brian Hunt, and ends up affecting that shot more than any other defender on the court did, as Wendell Carter will get blocked, and we'll call for the ball out, take it away from John Morant, and we'll call for a screen, and end up hitting the shot after hitting the screen, and no defender watched in sight. Of course, a mid-range shot, because we don't hit threes around in Indiana. Obviously, only hitting 1-3 this game, I believe, as Zach LaVine will take the ball up at the top, end up getting a screen from Diabate, and Wendell Carter will be there to help, but it will not work. Good defense, but better offense from Zach LaVine, who has 14 points. We are the scoring leader, at least Brian Hunt is, against Zach LaVine's 14, so maybe not as bad of a game as I would think. We will call for a screen from Wendell Carter and try to get the ball over to him. We'll call for the ball right back and end up finding John Morant on the screen, and he'll hit that very early layup. Now guarding Michael Porter Jr. yet again, Ramon Lopez brings the ball up the court. Good assist that last play from Brian Hunt, as we'll get kind of lost on the defenders, but end up going back to Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. crosses, gets left wide open after breaking Brian Hunt. And man, that defense, maybe not as good as we think, as they will lead by 4, and the Pacers will take a timeout, and Atlanta not having a single timeout taken through 2.5 quarters of play. And it looks like Brian Hunt will end up being taken out of the game, so we will simcast live until we get to the next spot. And Brian Hunt now working his way back in the game. 4th quarter, 6 minutes left, down by 9. So we'll need a little bit of a run to come back from this game. Brian Hunt through 3 quarters of play, 10 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists. But that will get adjusted at the end of the game to help normalize the stats a little bit more, as Carter Jr. will grab the rebound, and he does have his takeover. So maybe we'll try to look for him in the post a little bit, as that is the post takeover. And Brian Hunt will end up taking a layup and end up hitting it through 3 defenders and pushes Zach LaVine down to the ground. So far, 12 points and 10 points in the paint, so really a point scorer this game, and 4 assists as well. Not as many rebounds as we usually see him get in these played minutes, and it will be a jump ball. Good defense from Wendell Carter Jr., and we will see where this jump ball ends up landing in 3, 2, And one Wendell Carter jumps for the ball, and it'll end up being Pacer ball. Brian Hunt will call for it up the court and end up trying to cross up Zach Levine or Michael Porter Jr. with that tough crossover. But Wendell Carter will end up getting the foul against Domantas Sabonis, and we'll see if he can hit these, although a bad free throw shooter, it seems. But hits the first one, excellent, 100%. He's missed 2 free throws in a row before in this series, so maybe he'll hit 2 in a row now, as he will hit the second. So maybe not as bad of a free throw shooter as I thought, maybe just a bad attempt when I first saw him. And Brian Hunt will play defense against Michael Porter Jr. yet again, as they have Jalen Brunson in against Zach Levine. And Michael Porter Jr. will attempt taking it inside, be pump fake out, but it'll end up being rejected from either Brian Hunt or Wendell Carter. And Wendell Carter will get a screen going, and we'll pass it over to John Morant, wide open at the corner, splash, green bean machine, as John Morant hits it to bring us in within 2. 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. Good find from Brian Hunt to put us up, or put us close to up, at least, as John Morant will grab the rebound. And Gordon Hayward passes up to Brian Hunt as he dunks it down, shrugs the defense off, as we take another look at that. And, man, what an impressive finisher Brian Hunt is, as we tie the game with Atlanta. Domantas Sabonis at the top of the key, guarded by Wendell Carter. Good defense from Wendell, and Brian Hunt will grab the rebound, pass it up to John Morant. John Morant to the basket. Oh, my God! John Morant with the insane slam over 3 defenders, all of them trying to block. As what an insane dunk from John Morant. Turning it on in this 4th quarter with his finishing takeover badge. Man, that was impressive. But good find yet again from Brian Hunt. And he now has 6 assists as we leave Michael Porter Jr. open, but he will not end up hitting the shot. Jalen Brunson will find Brian Hunt, and Brian Hunt will end up dunking some theatrics from the Indiana Pacers with those last 2 dunks. And man, what a few possessions this has been for Indiana, now taking the lead by 4, as good offense being generated off the fast break. That's the advantage you get with 2 elite finishers in Brian Hunt and John Morant, as Zach Levine will take the ball in against Jalen Brunson, and Brian Hunt will be left open again. Another dunk for Brian Hunt. Maybe a little bit of a cheat code, maybe a little bit of a cherry pick, but we'll take it nonetheless, and he might get the first win at least recorded on an episode, as he has his takeover now, of course, a lockdown defender, as we guard Michael Porter Jr. yet again. Zach Levine will take a tough 3-point shot, and Brian Hunt will end up grabbing that board, crossing up Domantas Sabonis, and oh my God, another dunk. Oh wow, that's 4 straight possessions with a dunk, and man, this team is on fire. Ends up bringing the lead up to 7, and the Hawks take a timeout trying to stop the bleeding, as we do get the player of the game. 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists, and multiple dunks that really pumped up the crowd. And we will now guard Levine with Brunson coming out, or Brunson staying in but just moving positions to the small forward, as Brian will grab yet another rebound and really turned it on this 4th quarter. Looks like we might win this game. Of course, never over till it's over, as we will pass it to John Morant and run this play. John Morant passes to Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward, another dumb 3-pointer. He's had a few of those today, but it's all right. We're winning by 8. Sorry about that. And we are now, we now have the ball. And Brian Hunt will take it up, looking for John Morant. John Morant taking it inside, but ends up passing it back out to Brian Hunt. Brian Hunt will look for Wendell Carter in the post. Take the shot, Wendell. You're small. He's against a smaller defender. And he will not end up. But John Morant will be left wide open for the easy layup. And we now lead by 10 with 1 minute and 45 left to go. Very exciting end of the game, as it looks like we will pull out with the win, unless Zach Levine starts hitting those pull up mid ranges, in which we were just behind them and didn't end up getting the animation, I guess, as Brian Hunt will take up the ball, jab step once, and go for the screen, as we will pass it to Daniel Theis, and Daniel Theis will take a layup against Domantas Sabonis and miss. Now Lopez bringing it up to the court. Michael Porter Jr. in the corner. Zach LaVine calling for the ball, but Brian Hunt playing good defense against him. Brian Hunt, again, good defense against the screen, as we will get lost, as I thought he would shoot it, and kind of embarrassing to get lost like that. But that's okay, as Brian Hunt will look for the ball. He'll get it. It calls for a screen from Wendell Carter, and he will get a solid screen from Wendell, and Wendell will be left wide open for the dunk. And it looks like we will pull out with this victory. A good win for the Indiana Pacers, pushing us up to 8-13 through 21 games. As I was a little bit distracted there and let Zach LaVine blow right by me, but playing good defense against Domantas Sabonis in order to get that rebound, and we will end up setting a screen for Ja Morant, and Wendell Carter will end up getting the ball. I'll call for the ball from Wendell, and Wendell will end up getting a screen, and I will end up missing the layup. But looks like the game's over. 30 seconds left, up by 8, and does not look like there will be any comeback, but a block by Brian Hunt, I believe, and looks for Wendell Carter in the corner, ends up passing it right back, and I think we're going to just try to score, even though it is unsportsmanlike, but we will pass the ball to Ja Morant, and they just want us to relax for the rest of the game. As we'll dribble the ball out, call for a screen from Daniel Theis for no reason, and that will be the game. Final 65-57. We'll see how it looks after the adjusted stats, and I will see you in the main menu. And now here at the end of the game, it looks like I didn't actually turn on those, or I got turned off after I saved and quit, but the final box score ended up being 65-57, with Brian Hunt scoring 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists on 21 minutes, shooting 10 for 15 from the field. Ja Morant having a good game in the third quarter, scoring 13, 5, and only 1 assist, which is kind of surprising for a guy like Ja. Of course, Brian had the 1 steal and 1 block with only 1 turnover. And Wendell Carter with the good game as well, 12 points and 8 rebounds. With the Hawks, Zach LaVine really was their star player, shooting 9 for 20 from the field and 18 points, with Michael Porter Jr. also hitting 2 threes and shooting 5 of 12. And Domantas Sabonis with the bad game ended up shooting 2 for 7 with 4 points and only 9 rebounds. I guess not only 9 rebounds, but you kind of expect him to average 11 per game. Next episode, I think we're going to focus a little bit more on really just the entire team. Maybe try to get more assists, as I think we will simulate all the way up to maybe this Washington game or this Bucks game. We'll see how it goes in the beginning of the next episode, and I will see you guys next time.